Hello, everybody. I'm Tony Kosinek. This is Mary Pennock.
Hi, great to be with you, friends.
And we're going to, in this question and answer event, we're going to try to answer the questions that you have. Now, the people who are going to be asking questions are primarily people who have been going through the Kabbalah Revealed course. And there are a number of courses in Kabbalah. I'm going to tell you about some of them. And also, the people can ask questions both on YouTube and Facebook. We're going to give priority to the people who are in the courses at Kabbalah, but we're going to attempt to answer questions from all of those. So the Kabbalah students will be asking questions that are probably mostly particularly related to what they're studying, and they're studying the fundamental concepts, fundamental principles of Kabbalah. Although you Kabbalah students can ask anything you want, anything that actually came up for you while you were in the process of learning, or even before you came to learning, because this is really our first opportunity to meet face to face and to get your questions answered. And our friends who are joining us and looking in from Facebook and YouTube, anything that you would like to know in relation to Kabbalah, car mechanics and fixing motors and stuff like that is off the table. But anything, well, maybe not. Depends. If it relates to Kabbalah, it's okay. The thing about answering questions is that it's part of a whole process. Learning Kabbalah is a process, because the goal in Kabbalah is to change our perception of reality. That is, to be able to see not just the world that we see according to the inner properties that we're created with, the things that limit us, our view of ourselves and the world through the lens of self-concern, egoism, because that builds the world that we see. And if we're going to see the larger system that we live in, it has to transform all of the things that are actually there in front of us. It has to transform their meaning. It has to change the scope of what we perceive, so that we can begin to see the context of life and to be able to feel why things occur the way they do. What purpose are they appearing and engaging us? For what purpose? And that means that we don't do away with anything that we see. If we're changing our perception of reality, that means we are changing the meaning. And we're being able to see past things that normally would fill our entire definition of life. Because the premise of the science and wisdom of Kabbalah is that we see very little of what is actually there, and our unhappiness, the suffering that we have, the doubts that we have, our troubles are really based on our clinging to a particular property that limits our ability to see the whole. And that if we were able to not so much see, but to experience the larger system, how it works together and why it's actually working together for our good, for the ultimate good of everything that exists, then we really wouldn't be confused, we wouldn't be unhappy, we wouldn't feel alone, we would be able to do much more with our lives. But that's not a simple process, and it's not an intellectual process. A part of it is intellectual, because Kabbalah is a science, so there's plenty to know, and it reveals a great deal about the world that we see. And it really does involve our intellect almost to its limits, but it's not about that. So even the questions that we have and the way in which I'm going to attempt to answer them, well, there's a kind of a tightrope act here going on, because it's not the intellectual answer that's important, because that's not actually what your question is coming from. The question is coming from a need in you. And it's a need to attune to something larger that you already sense is what reality is, you already sense that the limited scope is not the entire picture. So that means that there's a process involved. There's the building of habits. There is the changing in the way that we normally think about things. And that's why there are a number of courses in Kabbalah that allow us to move through, starting with Kabbalah Revealed 1 and 2, where we are dealing with the basic definitions that give us the context for the beginning of changing perception. These are very important because they're somewhat opposite to how the world in general sees things. And when a person has gone through that, we have an additional course, which is called Kabbalah in Action, and it's a kind of an intermediate course. And this deepens our look at the fundamentals, and it also explores details of the beginning of the practical methodology of Kabbalah. Like, what does a person actually have to do in order to change their perception? How does the mind and the heart work in a proper way in order for perception to alter? And then we have a graduate program after people have gone through that and have gone through that sort of training, and that allows people to get hands-on into the practical aspects of Kabbalah. And at that stage, people are a lot further away from just the definitions and undoing some of the erroneous concepts and perceptions that we have. Are actually working with the methodology of Kabbalah in a very full-scale and active way, not just alone, but with other people. So that's the sort of scope of what we try to teach. We try to bring people to the point where they can begin to work on their own as true Kabbalist students. It takes a while, but it is the science of life itself, so we can't expect that it's going to be like I'm going to read a self-help book and now I'm done. No, this is like a training that allows people to actually change the quality of their life and the perception of reality, and not just for them, but for other people. So let's start. Let's see what the first question. Let's go.
Okay, great. We have first question is live from Jacob Belma. Jacob, if you want to unmute yourself, please, you have the first question.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, Jacob. Go ahead.
Okay, I have a rather mischievous question though, actually. It's about receiving to bestow. In Kabbalah, you guys teach that we actually have to receive in order to bestow. Okay, if this gets into the wrong hands, some people will take advantage of this. So they would actually go out there and do all kinds of things. And they would say, well, I just have to put the intent to bestow. So if I do these things, I can de-stress myself. So when I come home, I will be a nicer dad or a nicer person at work. Is that what it means? Or does it mean to receive simply just the gift of life in order to bestow, as in to teach this, like what Tony is doing? Is it just the basics, like receive the basic necessities, simple pleasures, or do we like receive unboundedly? I mean, it's a little bit blurry and confusing there. Yeah, that's my question.
It's addressing our relationship to the upper forces, to the upper light. In reception is about the change in perception. It's about what happens when we work towards this and we begin to receive a completely different quality in our desire. But you see, the thing that the real answer to your question has got to do with what a person wants, because what you're describing about how it can be misused is exactly the way that the world is. That is what people think. We think in general that I need to take whatever it is that I say I need, and I will try to do good actions and use this for good. Kabbalah is not concerned at all really with that level of physical stuff. It deals with our relationship with the upper force. So a person who comes to study Kabbalah already is aimed, they likely have a point in the heart, and they understand that they want to transform the way in which they perceive and what their goals are. We are forced to receive all the time. We are nothing but reception. The question of putting intention on it can only happen after we do a restriction, after we decide that I will not receive anything at all in terms of the upper light, or even my sense of pleasure when I'm a new student. I will first think I'm not going to receive this for myself, and then I'll struggle with, well, what happens when you do that? How can a person begin to aim? What does receiving mean? What we're lacking here, in order for you to get an intellectual answer to your question, is the definition of bestowal. Because we think bestowal has got to do with giving people things, giving others things, but it is not that. And we can only learn precisely what it is through the attempt and through the failures that we have in trying to grasp this concept. It really comes into focus when we go to the later stages of learning, like say the intermediate stages of learning here, and you begin working in such a way that you're actually working with other people, and you're constantly confronted with whether or not you are working for their behalf or on your behalf in regards to the spiritual study. Because if a person masters this, like begins to feel that mechanism in themselves, then every other act that they do, whether they eat, whether they take their basic necessities, doesn't matter. You have to have your basic necessities. If you don't survive, you can't do anything. So it doesn't matter what a person does. If they develop this correct intention, everything that they do will be right. I can't really explain it further than that. But there's a fail-safe here. If you are aimed at the right thing, if what you want is to understand how the Creator can give to everyone and everything only and never have any other intention, and you're striving towards that, and that's your need, you will be taught by the upper light how this happens, and you'll be given a correct definition in your heart.
Great, and thank you for your question and asking live. Don't be shy. Please indicate that you'd like to ask a live question. It makes a session more dynamic, and it gives us an opportunity to make more of a personal connection with you. So we have a few more live questions coming in. The next one is from Amy.
Gonna unmute. Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Amy.
Okay, perfect. Hi there, I'm Amy. I've really been enjoying the course, so thank you. My question has to do with something called the Modern Mystery School. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Modern Mystery School. There's 7 mystery schools, and they teach Kabbalah. And I just wanted to know, in Tony's opinion, if he knows about these Kabbalah teachings and if they're in line with your Kabbalah teachings, as well as in this course that they teach, they spend 10 months, and in each month they spend a different, they study different aspects of the 10 Sephirot. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And how they relate to us. So, from Malkuth all the way to Kether, I think. Sorry if that's mispronounced. I was very interested in studying that and just how to look at my life through those branches, I guess. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm wondering if you guys teach a course that has to do with learning about the 10 Sephirot and how they relate to us, and also what Tony thinks of the modern mystery school teachings to do with Kabbalah.
I don't know the specifics of the courses that you're talking about, but I can tell you that there is no definition of the Sephiroth and no described interaction between spheres, and us. We do teach a course in the at the graduate level. We teach Introduction to the Science of Kabbalah. It's called Pticha. And it describes not just Sephiroth and the tree, but also all the worlds and how the Sephiroth are related to worlds, how they are connected actually to interactions and perception. But I have experience, because I searched for many years also for a true Kabbalist teacher. I searched 30 years. And I was exposed to the English Kabbalists, and I looked into a number of things. From what I have learned from Rav Lightman, from my teacher in the actual Kabbalistic lineage that is unbroken, all of those things that I learned were false. I mean, they were incorrect. They were fundamentally based in the ego, and they were without benefit of any teaching that comes from what Kabbalah actually is. Sephiroth can't be defined as discrete in the way that people attempt to do it, as though they were like forces, subatomic forces or something. Here's a nucleus. Here's a particle. Here's a neutron. It doesn't work that way. It's something that is revealed to us in our relationship with people. Because the force of nature is a transactional force. It is about what is between people, and you can't learn that intellectually. You can only learn it experientially, and you have to be in an environment in which that's the only thing that is there. The 10 Sephiroth appear actually within the relationships between people in a Kabbalistic working study group. I can't explain it further than that right now because you don't have the preparation for it. But Kabbalah evolves towards the appearance of the 10 Sephiroth and the tree. It starts to be the form in which we understand and feel everything. It is actually the structure of us and the structure of everything in creation. In one of the lessons in Kabbalah Revealed, there's something about the 4 phases of direct light. That is the most fundamental thing that a person needs to grasp first before they can understand anything about what a sephira is, what the tree is, and what that process is. It's not that we know it. We have to actually feel this in us in relation to the Creator. And our relationships with other people are our relationship with the Creator. There is no direct relationship with the Creator at all. We have to love others. We come to the love of the Creator through the love of others. And the love of others is structured in this 10 Sephiroth system. And when it is functioning correctly, then the light of the Creator actually appears in those relationships. Does that sound like what you learned from the mystery school? It isn't. It isn't. So if you're interested in that, unmute her.
This question. Oh, okay. I just said I'm very thankful I was able to ask this question. It wasn't what they taught, so I'm glad I got that cleared up. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's really an important question because it's a stumbling block that for almost everybody.
Okay, thank you again, Amy. Before we go to our next question, I'd just like to apologize to the viewers who were in YouTube, who have been comfortably segued to Facebook by our tech team. There's a bit of a glitch there last week, so if you tried to tune in last week via YouTube, we've tried to fix that issue, and it seems to still be problematic. So hopefully you're in Facebook now, and we'd love to hear your questions as well. So just type those into Facebook, and we'll pick them up from there. So welcome. Our next question is live from Andreas.
Before you do that, I just want to add, because another teacher just let me know that the Modern Mystery School uses words and terminology that are from B'nai Baruch. Not that they're teaching what we're teaching, but they use our words and our terminologies and just make it really mysterious. What we try to do is make it really simple and accessible. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks,
Andre?
Tony. Yep, live from Andreas.
I know Andres.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. Yeah, Tony, yeah, thank you. It's a great honor. I'm happy to be back. So the question is here, between Zir Anpin and Malchut, or the choice of environment. I don't really feel that I have a real choice here. I feel that I'm here because I expect to have more pleasure. And where I don't really see how the free choice of environment goes together with there's no one else beside him. Can you please help me? Thank you.
It has to do, Andreas, with the definition of free will that we have. The ego's definition of free will is that there's a scope of parameters, it's as though the choice that we make came from us, and it could be anything that we would imagine out of whole cloth, like something out of nothing. This is what we kind of, in the deepest part of our ego, we hope that this is what free will is. But free will is actually the acceptance of the structure and form of what we are. So none else besides him means that really every step in our development is designed to advance us. It's designed for our good, and it is designed to give us pleasure. It's just our perception of pleasure changes, and it can only respond to what it is that we want. And the saying is, the Kabbalists say that in terms of the environment, that the Creator takes our hand and puts it on the good fortune and says, take. But it's up to us to accept it or not. We have that option to delay or to not accept the correct environment. But what's happening inside of people who come to Kabbalah is that they have been accepting what the Creator wants to give them. They have been saying yes to things, and they have used the things that have sort of confused them or turned them away in such a way that they have developed a desire within themselves for what the Creator wants to give them. That's the place where the free will exists. It's that we stop focusing on things that have to do with what we don't want, and we start focusing on what we really do want, even though we can't quite perceive it yet. What we want is we want the freedom, the completeness, the creativity, the love, and the goodness of the Creator's intention. That's what we think of as fulfilling our lives. We just don't know it. We paint it, we stick it into these little jars that say, well, it's a car, or it is a knowledge, or it is desire, or it's all exactly the same light, and it can be felt this way or that way. The free will is to be willing to let go of that and to agree with the desire that is aiming us towards the ultimate freedom and good. And that's what you do when you choose an environment that the Creator puts your hand on. Like, did you choose to come to this environment? Yes and no. As long as we don't understand that and don't feel that everything is perfect and perfected, then we think we chose. But I'm happy to accept the perfection of something, because it fills my heart with a sense of beauty and balance. I'm glad. And I'm glad you're here asking that question. And I really hope, for you and for all of the students, that you can learn to feel that guidance in your own desire and understand that just because everything is the creator, it doesn't mean that we don't get fulfilled. That's the true definition of our fulfillment. And another question?
Okay, thank you, Andreas. Very much appreciate it. Next question comes from Facebook. Thank you very much for posting, Bo Welch. Baha Salam said there is no thought, no matter how seemingly insignificant, that does not come from him. What would be your comment on that, Tony?
Amen. Well, this is the basic guidance system that we can use. There is this primary article in the Concepts in Kabbalah Revealed course, and it's the cornerstone of all of the wisdom of Kabbalah, and that is this idea of there is none else besides him. And in this article, it describes all of the different ways that a person starts to attribute the reason for things and the authority for things to people, or to themselves, or to some dark force in nature, or to what he calls the other side, the Sitra Achra, something that is preventing us from attaining holiness. But in other words, it's preventing us from being happy and fulfilling our lives. But the point of the article and of none else besides him is that it always brings us back. It takes away the illusions, brings us back like a compass to the center point of faith, of things not being limited by our ideas. It doesn't eradicate our ideas. It just puts them in the context of the Creator's love for us. Because even what we think and feel belong to the Creator. But they're imperfected in us because our vessels are imperfect. And it's not the Creator that changes, it's us. But what does he use? What are the forces of nature made of? They're made of the thought of the Creator. They dress in things according to the way that we perceive reality. They look like, they look like a hurricane, or they look like a gravitational force, or, or all of these things that we painted in other people, politics, my own limitations, my inabilities. None of that. It's like really none else besides him is giving you a break. It's really giving you a break. You're not responsible for the way that you're made. The only thing that we're responsible for is to learn how to take how we were created and turn it into what we want. Use it correctly to get us to move in agreement and voluntarily towards the good that the Creator wants to give us. And if we weren't in a field that was made only of a complete and total guidance down to guiding every single particle, including every thought that you have and everything that you see, we wouldn't get there. And you're safe in the hands of this system.
Tony, a question really that expands on there. If you would like to expand on it, that's related. If we are not our thoughts, what or who are we? Related question.
If I'm not my thought, then what am I? You're the whole system. You are part and parcel of everything, and you play a part for the good of others. You're like a cog in a machine that is there to serve the well-being of the whole system. We know that science is now caught up to a lot of the things that Kabbalah said, and for thousands of years, people thought it was mysticism. But we now know that nature is a complete holistic system, and that even that humans are connected through a kind of a network. and they're like nodes and hubs, and everything is completely interconnected. That doesn't mean that there are a whole bunch of individuals that can communicate with others like we do with the cell phones. It means that we actually partake, are subject to and object of the entire system. We just perceive ourselves as these individual parts, where really we are the whole, but we are individually expressed in such a way that we can actually fulfill the rest of humanity. We are allowed to experience and give pleasure through this network. So we are not the things that we think, because our thoughts actually result from that human network. The things that we desire are dictated to us by the impulses that are moving through the system. Our values are shaped by that, the way that we think and the way that we respond. We are basically, for the time being, we are what we desire. At least our desires describe our limitation, the limits of our ability to fully engage in that and enjoy that game of being part of the whole system. We are much more than we think we are. We are the whole creature that is all of the cosmos and all of the opposite side of the Creator, coming to terms with knowing that that's what we are. We are becoming what we are. I'd like to play a clip right now, that first Kabbalah clip. This will elaborate a little on that. There's a science that deals only with the most essential purpose, covering the greatest possible scope, and specifically how we come to know and live in it. It gives us a practical, very human way of studying the highest natural forces, their place in us and our place in them. It's the essential science of meaning and everything that results from it. And in it, rather than beginning by examining physical matter, it starts with a view of life in this world as seen from the perspective of those forces that build and evolve it, and then describes how to reveal our conscious sensation of its purpose in us. So we're going to use its insights to peek into that gap. The science is called Kabbalah, which is a Hebrew word that means reception, how to receive and perceive. Its findings make it clear that what you think of as meaning and inexplicably long for is in fact the desire to relate to the highest, most comprehensive dimension of life. That your longing and doubt are required to make you capable of grasping the purpose and meaning, because they're the container in which you'll eventually receive it. Not only that, it describes exactly what the purpose of life is from the point of view of that dimension, and how this larger goal becomes activated only if and when you consciously engage with it, and not with something else that you imagine. And because its purpose is constantly aimed at your development, it's as if it's waiting for you to reveal it. And somewhere, even if ever so faintly, you feel that. There is a single cause, an impetus underlying, unfolding everything that ever happens. It's a natural mechanism, a law, but the only form in which the human heart is able to perceive and relate with it is as an intention called the thought of creation, and that is to create a creature and to bring it to complete fulfillment. That is both a description of the highest force and dimension of nature and the ultimate purpose of all life. What does that thought have to do with the meaning of your life? You could take the creature part of that equation personally, and it would only be partly true, because the creature in the thought of creation is our entire reality, the cosmos. Every object in it all its cascading, lesser, non-physical forces and dimensions, everything and anything outside of that intention is the creature. And nothing that has ever happened, is happening, or ever will happen can happen for any other reason or to serve any other purpose. So no matter how events may feel to us, we're always held, nurtured, and evolved by the action of an unwavering force of giving, a constant, unperceived positive influence that's the very essence of meaning. So in the first place, you're already in all of this, and all of this is already in you. The thing that's concealing the profound interrelation, that's preventing us from feeling our true identity, is the exact quality that makes us the creature.
Okay, welcome back. We're going to go to the next live question. Welcome, Cindy Bryant. We'd love to hear your question next.
Can you hear me? Let's see.
Yes, we hear you. Go ahead. Now you're muted, Cindy. Let me
Okay.
unmute you. There you go.
Now you can hear me.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I wrote down a question, but you have answered the question in many ways. But I've been studying for over a year, and I look back over my life and I see literally mess and chaos that resulted. And in the moment, I thought I was serving God and bringing him joy, because I've spent the over 25 years volunteering and helping, giving all my time to help people in different situations. But now I see tons of residue that resulted because of everything. And so I struggle with feeling regret, and I see how I was vigorously responding to every egoistic desire that popped into my head. And so I guess my question is, how do I cope with that? Do I, and as it mentioned in the video, do I just see that as like an unwavering force of giving from God? Just like your insight on that. I hope you followed me.
First of all, everything that you've been through has brought you to need to know what giving actually is. So that's absolutely perfect. And the fact that your response to it is kind of kind of hurt and regret, even better, because it means that it's a sincere need. Giving on the physical level, it's impossible to know whether it actually is giving or not. Bestowal is an intention. It is, for whom are you doing this, from our point of view. And we have to learn this as a target. We don't even understand, when we begin to learn this wisdom, we don't understand what an intention is. And we learn that, it's very confusing. It's maybe the most confusing thing for new students. This is what you learn as you go through the courses. When you get to the point where you're actually working with people, it'll become very clear what it is that you're up against, and what you're up against will help you define where giving is and where it isn't. And you will also begin to get a foothold on are you working in an attempt to give with the intention of giving or not. And still, this is something that needs to be developed in a person. And it only gets developed by the pushback of the sensation that you don't actually know how to do it, because in fact, we don't. Eventually what happens is we become corrected by the light. This is not something we do for ourselves. There's none else besides him, and you will eventually learn this when the correct desire develops in you to the right scale and with other people. So, but you're perfectly on track. It's a great question.
Okay, thank you so much, Cindy. Going to our next question. This is from Eliana from Instagram. Thank you for joining us, Eliana. The question is, how important is the hand wash Hebrew prayer before talking to the Creator?
Thanks for the question. Well, there's a couple of elements here. First of all, what does washing your hands mean? What does a prayer mean? What does talking to the Creator mean? These are all things that, could mean 1,000 different things, and I don't know what they mean to you. These things all need to be concisely defined. We have to know what it is we're dealing with, because we don't have the same terminology. Very likely, we don't have the same terminology at all. Ultimately, there are processes like that in religious practices, but what a person should be doing inside does not require the actual washing of hands for it to happen. And a prayer does not require words being spoken in order for a prayer to be active and functioning. And when is it that we're speaking, in other words, in communication with the Creator? Is it me individually talking to the Creator? Kabbalah says no, that doesn't happen at all, because we're not individuals. So a person needs to move into the awareness of their position in the collective and the collective soul, and understand what those other things mean. What's important is that you worry about being prepared to speak to the Creator, and you've expressed that. That is your prayer. That's your prayer. Now what you need to do is discover, how can I actually be in contact with the Creator? That's what Kabbalah is for. It gives a person a direct sensation of this.
Okay, well, perfect. I didn't see that coming. This is a very special segment. In case you haven't joined us before, it's called the Blitz, where Tony has 3 minutes to answer as many questions as possible. Do you remember what our record is? Your record?
It was 16 or something.
I thought it was 16 as well. We'll go with 16.
This is a very, very special segment. I can't tell you how special it is. It's so special that I have a bell that I will ding after I answer each question, because I thought that would be really stupid, and so there it is.
And if they're easy, I have my own buzzard over here too, so it's a lot of fun. Anyway, when I start asking, if you can set the countdown timer, please. Here we go. Question 1 from Eliana. How important is learning Hebrew to learn Kabbalah?
In the later stages, it's important. Hebrew is a special kind of a language, but a person can learn all that they really need to know to really get going without it.
Tana, what is the effect of modesty on the worlds?
We have to have a definition of modesty before I can tell you that, but you can't enter the worlds without modesty.
Okay, from Donald Sales. I have a hard time understanding Reshimo. Are these deja vu?
No, but this question is. I'm going to explain that later.
That was easy.
Okay, got it. David Lopez, what would Kabbalah say about the story of the fallen angels?
Well, Kabbalah does speak about that, but we have to understand that an angel is just it's like a spiritual animal. It means something that happens that comes directly from the Creator without any involvement of the creature. It's like a force of nature. Too long an answer for this segment.
Stephanie, what's the difference between worlds and Partsuf? Another.
Partsufim are what make up a world, and they're all structured the same way.
Wow, man, that was
That
cool.
was easy.
Okay, Dan Friedman, what does Kabbalah say about orbs or angelic orbs?
It says, "What you talking about?"
Alexis Nin, thank you so much for sharing all the knowledge. I have a question. Astrology, both Vedic and Western, has provided amazing insights into my soul development and evolution. What is Kabbalah's outlook on astrology and soul development?
Well, the soul is the likeness that we have with the Creator. Astrology, from the point of view of Kabbalah, is not the same thing as the astrology in those two systems that you mentioned. And anything that inspires you to search is good.
Alexis says, thank you so much. Elielina Arellano, the more positive I am, the more I attract certain people with issues. Why?
In order to teach you that we can't just go by positivity. We have to have both the left and the right line and something that comes in the middle above those two things.
Tony, I laugh because we live it. Louise Quintino, it is said that by owning a copy of the Zohar in our library, even if we're not in a mind state in which we could get much from it, is it still beneficial for us?
That attitude is beneficial to you. It doesn't work exactly like that. You still have to read the Zohar, but yes, there is a force in it that talks to faith and not to reason.
Okay, from Shelley, I hear a lot about duality. Is duality just the creature feeling its opposite, the creator?
Kabbalah does not deal with duality. Sensation is made of opposites. That's all that means.
10 seconds. From Cindy, what happens to a person when they have reached the pure, direct desire for God? 2.
No, this is the answer.
1.
No, the answer.
That was easy.
It was a visual. It was a visual answer.
Okay, 11 and a half.
By the way, you'll know when you get there. Things along the way, even the first sensation, true spiritual perception, in which the heart is in any way similar to the intention of the Creator, is spectacular. It is fulfilling. It's like the best part of the best movie. You know, it's beyond. It just brings tears because of the connectedness and the sensation of being at home in your own in beingness. And now imagine that, if you can even imagine that multiplied 125 times. You can't describe such a thing.
Thank you. We didn't beat the record, but it was great fun.
But we beat a dead horse, so that was good.
We beat something. Okay, we're going back to live questions. We have one from Margaret, please.
Can you hear me?
We hear you. Go ahead, Margaret.
I understand as I pray, I'm praying for a change in my attitude. And I also want to have good intentions. What if I'm praying for someone else's health? I have a good intention and I think my attitude is good, but can I pray for that individual to have good health when the outcome may not be good for their health?
Okay, I want to address this. It's a great question. I want to address it in generality, like in really big strokes here. Prayer, conscious prayer, that is like a conscious involvement and trying to work with our desire to be like the creators, and our attempts to do that, have to do only with prayers for others. There is no productive or constructive or positive prayer for ourselves. Even if we're asking to understand or to know or to be close to the Creator, that doesn't work. Because that is an action that is opposite to the general intention of the Creator. Whereas the desire that you have to help, for somebody just to think about them, and that hopefully that everything, and surely will, work out for the best, because you're focused on the well-being of others. That is closer to the idea of what a correct intention and a correct prayer is. It isn't actually yet, but that is the right direction. And you don't know, and none of us know, what is ultimately best for the person. But the desire this is how we pray, for other people, is a Kabbalist prays for their spiritual fulfillment. That they will also, become awakened, become filled, stop worrying about their egoistic framework, and start becoming part of the whole system. So health is part of that system. It doesn't really matter what the outcome is. What matters is, what did you want for that person? Did you want their best? And what is their best? Their best is not up to us. The best is up to the general good of the system. So that's a correct direction.
Okay, thanks, Tony. We do have someone asking about physical books. This is coming from Alyssa. She's asking, I know you offer all your books for free online. Which books would you recommend to have physical copies of? Is there benefit to a physical book?
Oh, wow. Yeah, there is a benefit to a physical book. You know that the unseen forces are called the root level, and the branch level are the things that we perceive through our egoistic programming, things that appear here as though they were matter. Now, there are things that, and so that's a root and branch relationship. There is a root and branch relationship of books, like of a physical object that is thoughts and sensations written in a paper or on a scroll. There is such a thing as root and branch relationship to that. As far as because of this, it has something to do with the permanence of like inscribed or carved. But with a computer, it can disappear like that. So it doesn't have the same root and branch connection. So there's a particular quality to having a book, carrying a book, and so on. Now, yeah, the books are free online, but they're arranged in packages. So it depends on what you're studying. We have student book packages for the people who are in the beginning courses, the fundamental courses. There's a book package for Kabbalah Revealed 1. I think we have you can show that, yeah. Those are the books that you get at Kabbalah for the student, Attaining the Worlds Beyond, Kabbalah Revealed. And when you go to the second part of Kabbalah Revealed, there's the Guide to the Hidden Wisdom, Shamati. I carry around a small Shamati like that. And there are packages. Well, these are the main ones. And right now you can get if you're a student, you get these for 20% off. So, I mean, they're big books, they're great books, and they're cornerstone books. They're really like, if you have these books, especially Kabbalah for the student, you've got stuff that will carry you for years. And it's got stuff from the science of Kabbalah in there. It's got diagrams and descriptions of how the science works. It has pticha in it that I spoke about earlier. This is the copy, little handbook copy of Shamati, which means I heard. Beautiful things that were written down by the teacher of our teacher, Mary, and mine, and the teachers at B'nai Baruch. He wrote them down. These are things he heard his father, Bala Salam, say at different times, and they're exquisite. They are about the inner processes that a student goes through as they learn to convert knowledge into faith inside of them and feel it in their heart. So it's something really worthwhile having.
Yeah, another benefit I can think of, Tony, is when I'm studying online, I don't want multiple windows open on my computer, then I like to have the hard copy of the book so I can follow along with the studies and just not be distracted with so many windows open on my laptop, have larger view of the study material and the broadcast online. So there's an added benefit to having the physical books.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a couple more live questions coming in. The next one is from Jacob. Great to have you with us, Jacob.
Hi. My mom has a question.
Yeah, I'm actually Jacob's mom. My name is Anna. I'm a little bit nervous. And I have a question because I've been studying together with Jacob. And my question is, how come in Kabbalah Revealed Part 2, the lesson summary says that our point of independence and freedom lies in our attitude towards what happens? I thought it was the location that is the point of freedom. That's my question.
I apologize. I really didn't hear what you said very well. Maybe Jacob, if you could sort of repeat the basic questions.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Her question was, in Kabbalah they teach that there's only. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. So you guys teach that there is only one point of freedom, and that is the point of location. But in Kabbalah Revealed Part 2, Week 1, this last week's lessons, there was a part in the lesson summary that says our freedom, our independence and freedom lies in our attitude towards what happens. So we're confused. Is it in the attitude towards what happens that is our point of free will, or is it in the location? That was her question. Thanks.
And our intention from Kabbalah 1 revealed, either our freedom lies in our intention, and I didn't catch the
second
tone
one
of
is what
that.
I didn't get.
Right.
The question is our freedom of choice in our location, or is it in our attitude to what happens?
Thanks, Gianni.
Thank you. It's the same process. First of all, in Kabbalah, what we're trying to enable a student to do is to get into a correct framework in which it's possible to activate all of the things that are latent in your point in the heart, so that they will become your whole reality. And that, what you're calling location, is environment. Now, what we mean by environment is eventually to work with a group of people who all share exactly that same desire and are only working towards that goal. They're only working towards working above their egos and to learn to feel and reveal the Creator's quality between them. That's what's called an environment. Now but the process involved here is that you were brought along, you maybe saw some stuff on the web, you read some books, and then you ended up at a place where you were to decide whether or not to take this course. Now that has got to do with your attitude. Now maybe you had a desire right then, you were like, you're just going to blow past those gates because you already had the desire. But in fact, what happened was that the Creator brought you to that situation and you needed to make a decision. So maybe you were helped by your nature and the way that the Creator is working with you to say yes to that decision because it was already, it was just simply waiting for you. But now, as you start to work in that was, your freedom was whether to accept it or not. And you did. You willingly accepted it. Some people see that and they go, no, I'm not going through that doorway. Then now, as we begin to work with people, or we see the things in our lives that are happening, events that seem to be against us or that push us away from, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, and you start to have all kinds of doubts about it. Now, the freedom has to do with our attitude towards, well, how does this work? Why would it be pushing against me? What is it building in me? What can I do with it? Do I agree, first of all, with what the Creator is showing me? Do I attribute everything that happens to the Creator, or do I immediately think that, no, it came from me and what I feel, or it's that jerk over there who made this happen for me, and any of these kinds of things. So our freedom is, do we accept how the Creator is advancing us? Because we are actually advancing in a chain of reshimon. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this a little later. So free will exists in wholeheartedly first attributing the events of life to the Creator and that it's done for good, and then to look in your experience for how to convert this in your heart to seeing how it's done for your good. That's where freedom is. Do we have a choice of whether or not that thing is going to happen? No. It's going to happen because the system as a whole, the Creator, is making all of these things happen. Our choice is with our reaction to it. That's what that means.
Okay, thanks, Tony. We have another live question coming from Donald. Welcome, Donald.
My question is, sometime I'll be, with myself at a park, just observing nature and how beautiful it is. And I notice, the mercy of the Creator on me. So I feel happy, joy. But then all of a sudden, at the blink of an eye, I'm overcome with this enormous amount of shame. and I'm not sure if I'm not sure how to deal with that, if that's something I shut down or try to move past or just accept. And my other question is in regards to perception of reality. Now that I'm aware that what I'm actually seeing in other people are attributes of myself, those things that annoy me in these people, is that something that I need to begin correcting, or is it something that I just observe and know that that's a part of me? Thanks.
Great question.
Excellent, man. Really, really lovely. Let's start with the second one first. Yes, everything that we don't like about others is actually something about us. But the correction, it's interesting, the correction is not actually in us, because there's nothing in us. The correction is in the relationship between us and the other. The way that nature has arranged stuff is that we can't work with our qualities inside of ourselves. We can only work with them as though they were external to us. And this world is about being able to do that, to be able to see the uncorrected parts of ourselves as though they were objects in an environment, in time and place. So there are people, we're seeing a person. What is a person? A person is kind of like a conglomeration of attitude, right? They involve us in actions, but all of the actions have got to do with our attitude towards them. I'm having fun. I'm having an adventure with this person. This person is like really a creep and doesn't seem to understand anything. All of this is our relationship with that person. So the correction happens by working over whatever it is that we feel and searching for that place in which that doesn't matter. What matters is the connection, and that I wish to love that person. In other words, think well of the person, do well for the person in whatever the situation is requiring, regardless of my perception. In other words, to accept that part of myself as needing to be included and needing to be cared for. How is this expressed? In the relationship. My attitude alone within myself cannot be corrected. That's why Kabbalists work in a working group together. And this goes back to the 10 Sephirot question. Because when you eventually get to the point where you are really working with other people, and only with other people who are also working towards this goal, they become arrayed as 10 Sephirot. And what we're doing is we're building those paths between us of love, but between us, the paths are the things that are under correction, not the spheres, not the people. All right, now the first question. Shame. If you feel shame when you look at the constancy of nature, the beauty of nature, I absolutely understand that. It is amazing to think how the sky is always there, the sun is always, as far as we're concerned, these are constant things that are always working for our benefit. If you feel shame in regards to that, then you are feeling a kind of a basic connection with that the giver is the creator. You can feel this as an intentional force. That's an intention that is making you feel like, and I'm giving nothing. Good, because the vessel now is being built in you, vessel being a desire to learn, all right, so I can only receive. Now, how in the world can I figure out how to give like that? I want that. I don't want anything else. I want that. So, great questions. Thank you.
Yeah, what I found fascinating about that question, and you mentioned the word adventure, that Kabbalah is really a lifelong adventure. Experiencing, this relationship with others on the path, just with other people in society, more importantly, relationship with the Creator. So it really is an adventure every day to see that interplay and how all of those things connect and interrelate.
Yeah, and it actually is one of the benefits, because it turns events that would be bothersome or it turns everything into a kind of a game of hide and seek. It's so much more engaging than thinking that there are some things in life that are important and other things that really aren't. Because with Kabbalah, everything that happens is an opportunity. There's always something that we can do with it, and there's always something that's being revealed in the interaction. So it's never boring, you know?
That's for sure. Okay, thank you for that question, by the way, Donald. We have a question from Donna on Instagram. This all sounds amazing. The wisdom sounds amazing. Is there a course that viewers can take on Kabbalah, and is there a cost for it?
Well, yeah, there are. What is our new course starting? I've got it here somewhere. April 21st, right? So there's a new semester of Kabbalah Revealed Interactive that starts next month. If you sign up, though, there are other self-study courses that you can go through on your own. They're pretty cool. They're really nice. And they can prepare you for the regular study. Now, yeah, does it cost? Actually, the fundamental courses don't cost anything, right? Our whole purpose is that we want to make Kabbalah available to everybody, no matter what their condition in life is, and we don't want to bar anybody from it because of cost. So we have, but it does cost us to run this. We have servers. We have some people who are employed. Most people who work for KabU are, they're volunteers. They give their time because that's what they're learning how to bring this to other people. So what we have is a pay what you wish approach to tuition. If you can't pay, don't pay, and if you don't wish to, don't pay. If you can and you want to help us, because it costs us about $25 a person per semester to be able to provide all the things that we do, then do. I mean, and it's up to you how much you want to pay. I think there are different things like $5 or $10 or $25, whatever, and you can do it like one time. Or the whole point, though, is if you can and you want to help some other people who can't, that's really good, and we would truly appreciate that. And if you're already in the course, you can see that there's why don't you put up that banner that explains that. You will see this banner, the Pay What You Wish banner, inside the KabU site. Yeah, so just take a look at the information there, see if that's something that you can do or want to do. But other than that, there's nothing stopping you from, there's no money thing stopping you from learning.
Okay, great. Thank you for that question. We have a live question from Amy coming up.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Amy.
Okay, perfect. We've been reading and learning a lot about receiving and the correct way to receive, and bestowal and the correct way to give. Maybe I'm jumping the gun here, or maybe it's already been said, but I'm still, I guess, a bit lost on how to do that. What is the correct way, Tony, in your definition, or what can you tell us about the correct way to receive and to give? And I'm sure we'll learn it along our studies, but I'd love to hear from you.
The correct way to receive, and this doesn't mean that we're capable of doing it right off the bat, is to receive in order to fulfill the desire of the creator or the other to give to us. The correct way to give is to give without a thought for yourself and for the benefit only of the person that you're giving to. What to give is where the definitions become clarified for a person, where the action becomes clarified. It's something that has to evolve. I understand why you're asking it. It's the core of everything, but it evolves through experience. It's like your vision has to blur and refocus onto a different set of forces. than the ones that we have now. But it's not going to wear out, don't worry. I mean, that desire to know that is going to drive your study, and it's there without an accessible answer to the mind, because it's driving you, it's helping you get to a place where you will begin to feel it as a sensation as opposed to an idea. And these things, the difficulty in understanding it, the inability to get your head around it, they're really helpful. They're really there in order to actually deliver it to you, and it will come. It will come when you're actively engaged again with other people who only have that desire. You see, the thing that really scatters our ability to evolve in the general out in the world is that there are 1,000 different values, and most of them are values coming from the ego. You have to work in a specific closed, not to the exclusion of living in the world, but an environment built only for you to be able to perceive those forces in you. And that means everybody has to be aimed at the same thing, always attempting to show bestowal, always looking for it, always trying to only receive in the right way. Because when you see it in your interaction with people, it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. But it has to evolve in us. It has to unfocus, defocus, and refocus onto the inner life in your relationship with other people. It doesn't just come like that.
Thanks, Tony. Just wanted to let all of our viewers know at this time, in addition to the courses, every once in a while we have very special events that come along. And on May 23rd through May 26th, there's actually a Kabbalah convention in North America. It's held once a year. And students from all over the United States just wait with bated breath every year for this convention, because all of the students come together. They get to meet other students from around the country, also from all over the world. Last year we had students attend from, I think it was 19 different countries. So even though the convention is held in North America, students come literally from just about every continent. So it's a very, very special opportunity we wanted to let you know about. If you haven't been to a Kabbalah convention before, there's a special self-study. It's entitled Get Ready for Your First Kabbalah Convention. And there's also the convention website that you'll find a link to in the chat where you can register. There's an early bird special, so the sooner you register, the most cost effective it will be. And that convention is in Newark, New Jersey. It's very close to the airport. Hopefully some of you are within driving distance of the convention. So it's just really an incredible experience. I haven't missed a single one since my first convention, and Tony's going to elaborate a bit more on what a Kabbalah convention is all about. Tony?
Yeah, thanks, Mary. The whole point of having a Kabbalah convention is that it accelerates your spiritual growth, your progress, because it is an environment, a physical environment filled with, hundreds, maybe 1,000 people in North America. We have ones in Israel that are 10,000 people. But it is a special environment that is made specifically so that the only thing that's happening there are elements that accelerate a person's growth. It happens in a hotel, so you're kind of living there for 3 days. You eat and you sleep, in the hotel. You're studying together with all of these people, and the whole thing is structured like the law of nature. It's working on us in a very special, focused environment, and it separates you from your regular habits and from the concerns of the world and the concerns of your ego. It shows you so many people devoted to this thing, which you thought was like maybe only you or imaginary, and you can see it kind of tangibly in front of you. You study with a Kabbalist. Rav Lightman comes and teaches the lessons in this Congress, and you work with other people in a configuration of 10, like 10 Sephiroth. We work in working circles, and you begin to be able to feel what happens, what appears there when you're working according to the laws of nature with these sources, and aimed at the sensation of bestowing to the Creator in this configuration of 10. And you're doing it with people. It's not something that you're doing sort of imaginarily. You are up against your responses to people. So you can begin to feel, from the love of friends to the love of the Creator, you begin to feel, what is my true attitude to the Creator? And you can measure it through how you feel and what you go through in relation to the people that you're with. These are very special people. These are people just like you who want to achieve exactly the same thing. They're the best people you could possibly come in contact with. Now, what's your response? What are these disowned parts of you that are under correction? Now you can see what your attitude towards the Creator actually is. And this kind of work, these sensations bring attainments, and what they really do is they attract a great intensity of surrounding light. Our efforts, it's like, not that we can do this on our own, but the things that we undergo in this correct environment start to attract a kind of light, the force from above, that is 100 times stronger than any environment that you will find, even if you're in an actual physical working group, or if you're in a virtual working group, or if you're studying on your own. What begins to happen to all of the people that are there, and to you in your perception of that whole system of the Creator's intention, the whole system of nature, is something that happens really quickly. You can advance in 3 days. You can advance what it would take you a year or more in terms of just general linear study, and it's because of the great efforts by all of these people and the great light that it attracts. See, the way that we grow is through a system of reshamo. These things, reshamo means remembrances. Our perception of what's happening to us really it's like the frames of a film. And we only see individual frames or individual events, and we can only act out the lines that are given to us in that frame. We don't understand what came before it. We don't know what comes after it. We can't feel, what the writer intended or what the director meant by the casting that was involved in it. We cannot draw the line of the entire thought that brings this together. A reshamo is like a single frame, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the connection between those frames. So once we start to connect them up together, we begin to feel the idea of the one who put all of the frames together. What is the story about? Who is the main character? Where is this going? What is the real relationship between the people? What is the ultimate end? What qualities are undergoing change? What values are changing as the characters change? You begin to see this from the point of view of the one who created the film. So we ascended from the upper world through a system of reshamo, where we move towards our egos. And the whole point of our progress is to ascend back up through these remembrances, through these frames. So what the Congress is about is it allows us to maybe capture an entire scene of frames and begin to see from that how the film is actually built, and we get to choose to come into agreement with all of these steps that are laid out for us. The Congress is a very special environment that you really can't get anywhere else. The intensity of the 3 days, the exposure to others, the seeing, the desire for spirituality as a real thing in front of you is tremendously inspirational, but it's tremendously practical. So if you can do it, I suggest that you do it. This might be one of the last physical ones that we do, because Rav Lightman's not going to be doing a lot of traveling around the world so much anymore. If you have the opportunity, if you can, you should try that experience.
Okay, thank you, Tony. So the link is in the chat, just a reminder to the convention website so that you can register there. Next question we have comes from a viewer on Zoom from Now Soon from Hong Kong. Be totally amazing if we saw you there at the convention, Neil. Hey, Tony, how can we use our competitive nature constructively? It's the greatest source of negativity and selfishness in my life. Thank you.
You can't advance spiritually if you don't have a competitive force inside of you. The ego, the ego's our best friend. The ego is the one that makes us desire, long for, and compete. You know where it really works is where you see, if you're working with other people and you see, man, this person doesn't seem to care what's going on. They just seem to love anyway. You know, they just seem to be able to give in places where I would just go, man, how can I get out of this? And you become jealous of them, you admire them, and you want to do better than them. And say, you know, this is the same thing that happens with science, with artists, with scientists, with artists. And Kabbalah is both a science and an art. Jealousy is good. Competitiveness is good. It has to be focused on attaining the right quality. It wasn't given to us by accident. It's just that we misuse it. It's not negative. It's purposeful. If we don't understand what the goal of life is, then it's negative. Then we just follow our competitiveness wherever it takes us. We don't realize that it's a tool given to us in order to propel us to the right thing. Nothing that was given to us is bad or wrong. But the general goal held in general society is what makes the ego destructive, competitiveness destructive.
Okay, next question comes from a Facebook viewer, and I apologize in advance if I mispronounce your name, Mehdi Yagubi. The question is, how can I control the stream of my minds and from where they come? I want to control the attack of erotic thoughts. So how do I control the stream of those thoughts?
Those thoughts are not your thoughts. Those thoughts are coming to you from the Creator as part of the educational process, because you are making a choice as to whether you're going to value that in the moment or your goal, and it helps build the desire for the right thing. There's nothing wrong with any thought that you have. Again, those thoughts are purposeful. You just need to attribute them. Stop thinking that they're coming from you. Realize that they're coming for a purpose. Now, if you don't have this purpose, if you're not trying to aim your development towards the Creator, then you will become distracted by them, and they don't really. It's just like the answer to the last question. There's nothing wrong with the fact that they're erotic. There's nothing wrong with your basic necessities. You have to fulfill those things. They're part of life. And you can't control your thoughts. The only way that you can sort of build a screen towards those things is to have a desire that is greater, that eclipses that desire. And you need that reinforced by other people. You need to see other people valuing that and to understand that that is the most important thing in life. Then whatever you think will be or feel or desire, it's there. But you don't necessarily use it when it's time to use the other thing. Don't worry too much about it. There's nothing wrong with any particular thought. By the way, we didn't play that clip for the Congress. Let's just take a look at that, and we'll come back and finish up with some questions. So I just want to tell our producers that I want to just spend a little bit of time answering some of the questions from the Zoom chat, maybe 3 of them, because I don't think that enough of them, we've been talking just the direct on-screen questions, and I want to acknowledge the friends that we're doing it that way. Then we'll move on more quickly.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Tony. First question from Zoom comes from Anna. Greetings. The greatness of the Creator is important in our work. What kind of actions can we do for the Creator in our 10 to increase the greatness of the Creator?
You need to express, if you're in a 10, you need to express that greatness. You need to inspire your friends with how the goal is extremely important to you. To reinforce, reflect on it, and show it in your kind of acting for them. Even if you're at a low point in relation to it, give them what they need. Don't worry about what's happening with you. Give them the greatness of the goal, because we're always either up or down in relation to it, and that has nothing to do with whether we're on the right path or actually succeeding. Usually when we're down, we're actually succeeding. That's the main thing. It's the inspiration you give to your friends.
Okay, another question from Zoom from Hatio. Would you be able to share what your reality is like now? How is your life different from before you set on the path of studying Kabbalah?
My life is, well, it hasn't changed that much. It just is more what it should be. It is what I imagined and what I hoped for is what life actually is for me now. What I try to create, I work as an artist, I'm a composer. What I try to make in terms of beauty, construct it. Now I experienced it no matter where or what. That symmetry, balance, and beauty is there. There's music in everything. I am happy. I'm happy, even when I'm unhappy. And I don't mean that in a masochistic way. I enjoy it. I enjoy you, and I enjoy what that you enjoy. I think those are the big things. I don't really feel a vacant space. So there's no such thing as alone. That's personal. I'm not. This is not the description of what everybody's going to feel. You asked me what I experienced. That's it.
I can also relate to that
Yeah.
as well, because I know what my purpose is. It's very clear to me since starting to study Kabbalah, and I convey bits and pieces of that, parts of that. I'm a high school English teacher by profession, and I know what I'm meant to do, to share this wisdom in various forms, or the purpose of life, if you will. And like you said, I'm happy. Content, I guess, is a good word to describe it as well, because I know exactly why I'm here in this world at this time, and how I fit into the greater system. So I can relate to that, that feeling of just being happy on a very genuine level.
Mm-hmm. And happy is not what I thought it would be. Happy feels in a different way. It's yeah, I can't describe that.
Okay, let's take one more question from Zoom out of respect to our Zoom viewers. This one comes from Carrie. Like others above, as a Christian/Catholic, I see many similarities with the overall teachings of Christ. How does a Kabbalist view Christianity?
Christianity, first of all, Kabbalah predates Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It is the fundamental source for all of those, and yet all 3 of them lost the basic connection with the actual methodology. And it was for a reason, and for the well-being of all of humanity. We're coming out of that state of disconnection. So they're going to naturally be very similar. because the core teachings, if you take Sermon on the Mount or something like that, they're all Kabbalistic. And the core teachings of Judaism are all Kabbalistic. And the core teachings of Islam, they are also Kabbalistic. But the cultures, the state of civilization, as where these things grew up, that's where the differences are. And there's a very close relationship with everything was depicted in this way and expressed this way by Abraham, and that's why we say that these religions are children of Abraham. The only thing is, you can know about these ideals, but you can't live them without the methodology of Kabbalah. You have to know how to love your friend as yourself.
Okay, thank you, Tony. So with that, thank you so much for joining us today. We have a few announcements. Next semester, just as a reminder, it starts on April 21st. If you're watching on YouTube, if you segued from YouTube to Facebook. So if you're watching on Facebook and you want to sign up for the course, you can do that. The links are in the chat. Pay what you wish tuition. If you want to participate in the course tuition, or simply support the spreading of the wisdom of Kabbalah, you can do so on our Pay What You Wish page. And for books, if you are in Kabbalah Revealed 1 or 2, you can get your course book packages with a 20% discount. Also, please check the links in the chat. And special announcement, as Tony described earlier about the North America Convention, maybe once in a chance, they're all once in a lifetime chances to participate in a Kabbalah convention. This may be the last one in North America. So North America Kabbalah Convention registration is open. You can get your early bird rate at one.Kabbalah.info. And just a recommendation, if you've never been to a Kabbalah convention, there is Get Ready for Your First Kabbalah Convention course in the KabU self-study section. So it will be great. Looking forward to as many of you who can make that convention as possible. We'd love to meet you live in person.
And I really appreciate the questions that you asked. There were some new ones. It's interesting to see how every time we do this, that the students they've advanced. Even new students ask deeper questions, seem to benefit. They're further along in their own perceptions of things.
I agree, they're more and more internal.
Yeah. So truly appreciate it. I'm impressed and very happy with you guys, and hope we meet again soon.
The song we long to sing is far beyond, and all in all, its parts are scattered. They hide beyond all birth and bond, and only you and I can find them. Our dreams of words, our dreams of music. They're only silence, they're only silence, falling into silence. We'll carry your dream, we'll carry your song in our hearts, however it seems. While we're apart, whatever it means. We'll carry your song in our hearts, we'll carry your dream. While we're apart, and so he's placed this crazy dream in our towers of bone. Fill us up with longing. Our dreams of words, our dreams of music.